All right, Chris, we're back again. I have to tell you, the best part about this show is like I get to see you every week, man. I miss you, man. I miss
Uh,
you.
Nice. It's nice. I mean, week 3 of this. I mean, it's pretty good. It's a good rhythm. I'm enjoying this like Friday afternoon action here that we get to like touch base with purpose. It's good. I'm liking it. I'm digging it. And usually there's something cold that we're cracking open. Do you have something in particular this week?
I'm drinking the Cape May Brewing Company, their flagship type beer. I'm sure you're very familiar with it. I've been to the brewery several times. It's very nice when in Cape May, and I'm drinking it out of my Philadelphia Eagles glass. Go
Ooh,
Birds.
man, some local action, but to the north. I'm gonna go a little further north. So we have some cousins coming over this weekend from Vermont. So one of my favorite breweries up there is Fiddlehead Brewing, and they actually started distributing along the East Coast. So I got this gigantic can of their flagship IPA. But wait, I've changed up my vessel this week. We were up there once. You know, we're gonna see how this spills all over me, or.
Mine is dripping on my leg right now.
Okay.
Like
Well,
right
there we go.
now.
Maybe my poor job will be all right. Here we go. So some IPAs. I've not broken rhythm with the hazies since we started this book battle. What's the hook gonna look like of these books? What's going on? So let's see. I definitely poured it with a nice big head. Uh
Glass for that.
yeah, I
Definitely.
think so. I saw somebody trying to advertise this new Czech beer style, and they were saying it's supposed to be poured with lots of head. And I mean, I like good marketing, but that just seemed a little too gimmicky to me. Maybe somebody will convince me along the way, but I couldn't believe when I saw that being advertised. Like, no, no
I
thanks.
This week we did something a little bit that we did fantasy, which I was like, you're kind of a Lord of the Rings guy, but I don't think you're other than that, I don't think you're really a fantasy guy so much. Am I wrong in that?
I would characterize myself as that's something that I would be drawn to and jump into. And I actually, off to my left here, I stacked up my Lord of the Rings and Hobbit and the Silmarillion. Had to get the collector's editions back when I was younger. You know what I mean? So I enjoyed it. It took me ages to get through it, and I don't know. I think I've tried to tackle it again at some point, but there's movies out there now that I think were well done. I think I'm gonna circle back with the kids if they're interested. Like, all right, let's jump in and try to read it again. But like the fantasy stuff, I think I would lean that direction. Like if I thought of myself, like, yeah, I like that kind of adventure fantasy. I find that when I jump into reading one, uh, I
Well,
get
we're
I get
gonna
a
get
little,
into that.
yeah, I get a little lost a little quick, and this whole idea of the last few weeks we've been taught the hook of the book, and if you're only gonna read a little bit and where it gets you, so that might be my hang up with fantasy. So I don't know.
We're on
Maybe I'm not.
page.
Maybe I'm not into fantasy as much as I thought. I don't know.
Let's talk about the fall of Salvandrea first. Does that sound good to you? That's the first one that I kind of got into.
Same.
So that one, I think on the cover, I think it's like it's got one of those like Return of the Jedi pig monsters, that
Yeah.
the
My
guy
eyes
that
went to
the
the
thing.
flaming sword first, but then yes, I looked a little close and I saw there was some sort of goblin pig monster thing going on. So I was like, all right, I like the cover. Then I kind of noticed that and I kind of disliked it a little bit. But the cover was appealing. I mean, I like that we have
It's
this
good.
sword and cloak. You have to have a cloak. I mean, that's like, Jedi action going on and yeah, something mysterious.
It looks like a fantasy book. It's doing what it's supposed to do. So the beginning of this one is it's a prologue, and I guess there's a there's these people. They're in this like pit, and then this one girl, and this happens in like the first page. She like betrays everybody she's with and kills them all, and then climbs a mountain of obsidian, and then there's a castle up there, and she joins a secret society. I mean, is that kind of where you're at with it? I mean, is that
Yeah,
are
that,
we?
that's where I got. Honestly, I thought that was chapter one, but now you say it, I read the prologue. So I got a lot further during the other weeks than in these books.
This was
So
harder.
yeah, I think yeah, that I'm tracking you on that. There's definitely this betrayal right out the gate, which I almost feel like was a little too quick because you're kind of like, what's happening? So maybe in the opening scene of a movie, if this was ever put into film, it'd be like, here's this lady, and all of a sudden she's just like right out the gate killing some folks, and it sounds like she's creating them as using them as bait, like for these raptor, bird, reptilian creatures, dragons, whatever we got going on. Not dragons, but flying dinosaurs.
I think the writer left a little bit on the bone there because that betrayal is really the meat of that scene, and you don't really get it at all. I mean, because she kills the guy, and you get the sense she kind of feels a little bit bad about it, but not really. I mean, and there's a specific character that she kills, and it's like, oh, it was this guy. I mean, he's pretty much my age, but it's had to be done. Sorry, and we don't really get why it was important. I mean, I would have liked a little bit of a dialogue between them, even though sometimes like the death dialogue can be a little corny, but just something like, how could you do this to me? We shared breakfast this morning, or something. It was just it was just too fast. And then if I got into chapter one, which it sounds like you didn't get into chapter one, but chapter one immediately starts with a battle. There's cannons going off. I mean, it was really, really, really fast.
That dialogue between her and some of the characters could have been like just expanding her thoughts a little bit too. Not to make it boring. I mean, we're all about a good hook here, but something there where, yeah, like you said, like thinking back to this conversation they had just had this morning or something. I don't know. But either way, it was quick paced, and maybe that's the point. Maybe that was the attempt of the hook, was to be a little quick paced. Yeah, I mean, I'm tracking you on what you're saying. I didn't dislike it. I was trying to make sure I didn't get myself confused. Like, don't worry about being confused. Just kind of read the words on the page for what they are, and just try to follow the story and like the image I'm creating in my head of how the author's describing what's going on. So I kind of tracked it. It was a little bit felt like rushed in the beginning, felt confused, but it was okay. I was like, no, no, slow down. And then kind of read through it, and I was tracking it. And then by the end of the prologue, drink this, I was kind of like, all right, I'm intrigued a
Back
little.
into it a little bit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. There was a full enough picture there of something was going on. So, and there was the folks that were sort of rescuing her as she was completing this mission or helping her finish the mission. There's some, intrigue there too, like curiosity of who they are. So, it was good. I said jumping right in was fast. Now, I want to ask you, you commented on book formatting during the last like four books we've done. What are your thoughts on like what we talked about the cover a little bit already, but how about jumping in through from cover through these pages before you even get to the prologue? Because that stuck out to me.
He opens with a nice thing that talks about how you pronounce things. I think that's right, and that's handy. But he's also like you can skip it. And but the other thing he doesn't have, which I didn't include in my fantasy book either, and I got a lot of like flack for it, was he doesn't have a map. Which I do think having a map can sometimes kind of ground you in where you are. The writer will probably tell you about where you are geographically in the first page or two, and then you're like, oh, okay, I'm over here on this part of the island or whatever. So he doesn't do a map, but he does have a very nice artist rendering in the early pages to kind of show you that like kind of bat dragon monster thing. What was it called? A
Yeah,
raptor? Is that what it
yeah,
was?
yeah, yeah.
Any problems with the formatting? I mean, did you see something?
I thought there was a couple things that stuck out, but you've like kind of like softened my aggressiveness to the critique. But I saw that there are 80 some chapters, which if this was a Dan Brown book, hey man, you can just blaze through it. I only need 5 pages, 10 pages at a time. This is great. I can like pick this up, put it down, pick it up, put it down, keep me going.
Right.
So maybe that's not a bad thing. But then as I get through the table of contents there with how many chapters there were, then I get into this names and pronunciations, and this is something where like my like rural America, public school didn't do me justice, anyways. Like, how to pronounce things. I was kind of like, I'm kind of glad. I'm not insulted. It's probably helpful to somebody like me, but at the same time, I was kind of like, whoa, here we go. The classic issue with like fantasy, adventure. I mean, that's why it took me so long to read Lord of the Rings. I'm trying to like remember like this is this person's name, pronouncing it right as I'm like going through the book. And I'm like, wait, I'm reading this as if it's one character, but it's this other one. I don't want to get confused. But I mean, seeing that, I was kind of like, if I was flipping through this at a bookstore, I might be a little discouraged.
In the Harry Potter books, I don't know if you've read those, but before the movies came out, I thought the Slytherin house, I thought it was Sly Theron. I was like, that's what I was calling it. I was
That
called
actually
Sly
sounds
Theron.
good. I kinda like that, actually. It seems a little more like,
Sly.
yeah, like, it's like theorem, yeah. A
And then
toxic
I
or
felt
something.
stupid. I was like, oh, obviously that's how you pronounce it. Stupid.
Yeah.
Next one is Whispers of the Storm by ZB Steele. I think his name is Zach, but It might not be. I might be lying. I guess how many other names start with a Z? Oh, not many.
Zach,
Zane.
Zachariah. Uh,
But this one had a. I thought this one had a great cover. I thought this cover was really good. You pulling it up to remind
Yeah,
yourself.
yeah. So I'm glancing down. I have my like phone, so I can kind of see the covers and talk about them a little bit. I think the eye catching of the flaming sword of the fall of Salvandrea was what I'd expect in a good like cover of a fantasy novel. This one was a little bit more you know, ominous, just kind of gloom, grayed out. But then I read like the author's bio, and I kind of was like, okay, that's what he actually self-proclaimed style, so it kind of made sense.
So in this one, I read the prologue and chapter one, which I'll call the prologue. It's not really a prologue. It's kind of like an envelope story. So you have him at the beginning, and then it's in third person. And then if you were to read a little bit more, you'd see it was first persons, which is just like him, which I'm assuming is going to be how the story goes, because it seemed like he was drawn a lot on another fantasy book. Oh my gosh, the Patrick Rothfuss one. I can't remember it, but I mean, he was drawing a lot from that, but it was good. I mean, the thing I liked about this one, which I mean, spoiler alert, I definitely like this one better than the first one. I mean, but I did a lot. And do you disagree?
You spoil
I
alerted
spoiled it.
like the whole point
I
of the
could cut
show.
this up
You
and move
didn't
things.
spoil alert the book. You spoil you like
I spoiled the show. I was like way more because he opens with some characters. I mean, it opens with this guy in a jail and he's talking to the jailer, and we've got some banter with the jailer, and then he's talking to somebody else and they've got some banter. I mean, it was just way easier to read than the first one, I thought. And then if you go into chapter one, he's telling the beginnings of his story of what led him to be in jail, and I'm sure by the end I bet he's like pulls the rug out from everybody at the end. But it's kind of begins with his story when he was a boy, and then at the end of chapter one, his dad sells him, to some slavers or something. I don't exactly remember, but it was compelling. I mean, it was pretty good. It was a little redundant with some other fantasy stuff, but I mean, I was into it. I thought it was really good. Um, do you have some thoughts?
I have some thoughts. I
Still
have some
alive? You have some?
some thoughts. I all of a sudden I'm regretting not reading further into these because I actually was leaning the other way with the other
Oh,
book.
really?
And so week one of this whole ordeal, I had read a little bit further into the books, and I think I was kind of talking about like, hey, when you get to chapter whatever it was, because I know I went a few chapters into those, they were pretty quick in my opinion. I was like, I kind of started feeling like led into one, and the other one. Um, I could take it or leave it, even though it seemed like a good read. So the whole like
Right.
when the girl and the adoption, the family. So okay, this seems like a good read. Could take it or leave it. If somebody said you need to read this, it's great. Maybe I would have like, all right, I'll take your word for it and keep going. The other one I think we selected, but you were like, you were gonna go the other route. But I was like, well, and get a couple more chapters in. There's this like there's something building here, this puzzle, this challenge that they're gonna go into. And I think that was like intriguing enough to want to select that book. I feel like both of these I probably didn't read enough. Now I know at the beginning of all this, we said we're only going to read like 10 pages. So I don't know if the intro and prologue would have counted if we needed to
It's
jump into
hard to
chapter one.
say. I'm not really sure how much 10 page like because it's hard to tell on that thing that we're using on Amazon exactly what's a
Yeah.
page because it's kind of like a Kindle page. But I mean, I kind of just for me it was like until we get to the next round, I was like, I'll read enough to where I feel like I can decide which one
Yeah.
I like better. But I think I was a little short week one. I think especially after went back and read a little more, I was like, oh yeah, I think we pulled the right lever that time.
So starting with the fall of Selvandrea, maybe. Is that it? I don't know. Um,
We'll go with that.
yeah. So, that we talked about how fast that was. And this other one kind of has this like, witty. I mean, you can see the main character is going to be a little, intelligent, has all these titles, but now he's, in a prison. And so I think there could be a good base there. You're saying you like the dialogue and the character build of it. Okay, I think that's pretty solid stuff, but like there's a lot of action in the other one. So I didn't start chapter one where you say then jumps right back into the battle scene again. So once again, I'm being thrown into being lost or what's going on now.
You are
So
definitely going to throw back into being lost.
so then I maybe you would have given up at that point. Maybe that wouldn't have helped. Where perhaps on this like Whispers of the Storm, you're saying there's even more character building. I mean, that's solid. Solid character building is always great for a story. I mean, that's what you're following along for is what's going to happen to these characters. What's going on. So yeah, maybe I didn't read enough to make a decision, but I was leaning with the with leaving off with the prologue and the intro. I was leaning for TJ's book here instead of ZB's book.
Okay, okay. I don't know why he does that because he online he's Tim, but like on his book cover it's TJ. It's very it's I don't know. He's
I just
doing
thought
something
kind of
funky. Yeah,
TJZB.
TJZB. But hmm. Well, let me ask
Yeah.
you this: which cover do you think is better? Because that could be a good decider then for these because I could read either one of them. I mean, I say I like the other one significantly better, and I think I did after reading the prologue in chapter one. But it's not like I couldn't read the other one. I mean, let me just tell you about the end of the chapter one and the one that you're thinking about. So
Yeah, let's hear
it
about let's
starts.
let's hear about it. What did you pull from it? Let's
So it
convince me. And if
starts.
you're not convincing me, we'll do the cover thing. But I think like where are we going with this story? Let's hear it.
Okay, so it starts chapter one. We've got our whole new character, which is probably going to be, our main character. I can't remember his name, but he's immediately in a battle. And in this world, I guess there's muskets. I mean, I think I got a little bit of that in the prologue too. There's definitely like gun things and cannons. And he clearly doesn't want to be fighting in the war, but he is fighting in the war. They don't really go into why. And then in a couple pages, he gets shot. And then he wakes up somewhere in the woods and he's with some guy. And then he takes a magical potion and then he feels like his head's getting caved in or something. It was very like I mean, it was a lot of my ties ago, but I was definitely kind of like, what's going on here? I was definitely when I came out of chapter one, I was definitely really, really confused. But
Yeah.
again, I mean, some of it like confusion can be fun sometimes. I mean, I'm sure it's all going to get cleared up. I'm sure he's going to explain everything, but it was just like I just wasn't really connecting with his character the same way I was with the other character because, of course, the other character I've got two chapters with him. So
Yeah.
I'm a little more invested in him. And this guy, it's like they had this other person, and then she kills everybody for no reason. This wild betrayal, and then this guy gets shot, and then wakes up in the woods and takes a magic potion. I mean, that's literally what I think it is. I don't. It was like 5 or 6 days ago that I read it, but that's what it was. That's what it
And
was.
so then you felt very confident in that after that chapter one and which of these two. So I think every book we've picked up and started has been good. I mean, I think that's always a disclaimer.
So too.
I don't think I think as much as we criticize, for the sake of a show and being a critic, but I think they're both good. I would say that if from what you're describing, yeah, maybe I would lean the other way. I don't know how much convincing it would have taken. But I have to say I'm still kind of hung up on like the genre itself in the sense of like also like how much investment. Like I don't know. I didn't look at like these how many books are in these series that they've started so far. And like how much do they want us to like so maybe it's 4 chapters of new characters, and then we're finally gonna get into, like, where they bring them all together, and because it's setting us up for this long adventure, and that's the challenging part maybe of fantasy versus, like, a murder mystery where it's like, by the end of this book, there better be a good twist, I better be shocked, and then it's done, and you go find the next one, versus, like, fantasy, adventure I mean, both of them said, like, I don't know, sci-fi, fantasy, they always combine that? I don't know, the same category.
Same thing.
But, like, I guess it's, like, how much I didn't look at the series. So, like, if like, Lord of the Rings is trilogy, what to ex there's 3 of them, whether they're long or not, there's 3 of them. So, like, you kinda know there could be some good build in the first one, and you might be left hanging for the next one,
Right.
so
I hope these are both standalones. Especially,
okay.
I think the Whisper of Shadow is specifically, I think that one is going to lead up to, by the end of the story, I expect him to be in chains and then the story to kind of resolve itself. The other one, I'm not sure. That one definitely had the feel of that was like starting a series, but I could be wrong. Like I said, we only read a little bit. So
So
We
when I
don't know
picked
for
these
sure.
up, this is my deciding factor. Okay, after hearing this conversation that we're having, or hearing, participating in it, the guns was confusing too. So
Right.
not only was it fast paced, but there was guns. And so whenever I pick up one of these, I think like I'm always questioning what world are we in? Are we in some form of Earth, the Middle Earth? Is it usually from distant past where it feels medieval? Medieval, like,
Right.
are we talking swords? And maybe there's some magic or things to it versus completely like that's like fantasy versus sci-fi, right? Where we have lightsabers, laser blasters, grappling hooks shooting out of mechanical arms, things like that. So where are you falling? When I started reading both of these, I got medieval feel, but then I also was confused with the fall. I feel like
Right.
that one was like, are we present time? Are we different world altogether because these raptor birds? But that made me feel like we were in some sort of medieval time thing or some alternative Earth, like a Middle Earth.
So it sounds like we're ready to make a decision here. Are we going with Whisper of the Storm? Is that our final answer?
I'm gonna follow you down this road. I'm gonna follow you down this road. I'm not. This is probably the least confident I feel in a decision, but I think it was probably I needed to go another 10 pages, another chapter. I've really been enjoying jumping into more than just chapter one, getting two, three, which I think is a shout
Oh
out to all.
yeah. I mean, and they get better. That's the
Yeah,
whole thing. I mean, the
yeah.
more invested you are, the better they're going to get.
Neither of these hooked me as much as some of the other books.
And that might just be a case of the genre. I mean, a
Yeah,
thriller should hook you a little bit faster than
yeah.
these. This is going to require, these do require a little bit more work. But no, okay, I feel good about our decision. Whisper of the Storm, you're winner this week. Congratulations.
Cheers.
That's a wrap for week 3. We will be doing 6 battles total in round 1 before moving on to round 2. If you want to play along, like and subscribe and read the opening pages of The Button Boy and the Seven Tears.